Sham-e-Ghariban, the night of homeless it was after Asr on the day of Ashura, Imam Hussain lay dead. The earth had trembled. Furat had broken its banks. From the camp of the family of the Holy Prophet, such lamentation arose as had never been heard before. Umar, son of Saad, received a letter from Ubayd Allah, son of Ziyad. The governor of Kufa instructed that they should not be satisfied with the death of Imam Hussain. His body must be subjected to the ultimate insult of being trampled by the hooves of horses, and this was done to the grandson of the Holy Prophet Piba. As the sun was setting in the horizon, the soldiers rushed to Imam Hussein's camp in search of booty. They looted every tent, every lady and every girl was stripped of her veil. Fatima's daughters were left bare-headed. Sakina's earrings were pulled off her ears, splitting her ear-lobes. When the little girl pleaded for her veil to be left untouched, she was slapped. Surely they would stop now, but they did not. They set fire to all the tents. Zainab was very distressed. She turned to Imam Zainul Abidin Piba and said, "You are our Imam now. Tell us what we should do now. Should we stay in our tents and burn, or go out without our veils?" Imam Zainul Abidin Piba told her that it was their religious duty to try and save their lives. Zainab gathered everyone and waited outside while their tents burnt down. When the fire was out, they took shelter under one of the tents which had not been completely destroyed. Humayd, son of Muslim, describes how he saw a little girl with her dress on fire, her ears bleeding, running from the scene of carnage. He says, "I ran after her. I took her by hand, put out the fire in her dress. I wiped the blood off her ears. She looked at me and said, 'You seem like a kind person. Are you a Muslim?' I told her I was. She thought a while and then said, 'Can you please show me the way to Najaf?' I asked, 'Why do you want to go to Najaf at this hour and in this state?' She said, 'I want to go and complain to my grandfather Ali, son of Abu Talib, about how they killed my father.' Realizing that she was Hussein's daughter Sakina, I took her back to her aunt Zainab. As the night descended, Zainab gathered all the ladies and children into one small space in between the gutted tents. Imam Zainul Abidin lay on the ground surrounded by these widows and orphans. There was no fire, no light. Only the moon cast its dull light. Umar, son of Saad, asked her widow to take some food and water to the ladies and the children. As she neared to where they were resting, Zainab recognized her. She stood up, went towards her widow, and offered her condolences for the death of her. This gesture on the part of Zainab, who had suffered so much, lost so many, and carrying so much grief in her heart, is a lesson in Islamic ethics which the world should never be allowed to forget. When Zainab saw the bread and water, she cried. Imam Hussain and his brave soldiers had died hungry and thirsty, and now the same people who martyred them were bringing bread and water to their widows and orphans. She looked at the sky and prayed to God to give her courage. Zainab remembered the words of her brother to give water first to Sakina. Zainab took the jug of water. She went to Sakina, who had fallen into a fretful sleep. Gently she stroked the girl's dishevelled hair. Sakina opened her eyes. Zainab said, "Here is some water, Sakina. Please drink a little. You have been thirsty for so long." On hearing the word water, Sakina cried out hopefully, "Has my uncle Abbas come back?" When she was told that her widow had brought the water, she got up, went to her widow, thanked her, and then asked Zainab, "Have you all drunk water?" Zainab shook her head as no. Sakina asked, "Why then do you ask me to drink water?" Zainab said, "Because, my dear, you are the youngest." Sakina replied, No, Ali Asghar is the youngest." Sakina took the jug of water, ran towards where Ali Asghar lay buried, crying, "Wa Asghara, Wa Asghara." This was how the homeless spent their night in Karbala. They had lost everything. Their men had died. Their children had been martyred. In this desolate desert, fourth Imam, the women and the remaining children are huddled where only a few hours before had stood their camp. Abbas, Qasim and Ali Akbar had taken turns to guard the camp, Now Zainab and Kulthum lay awake to make sure that Imam Zainal Abidin P.Ba and the children were not attacked. Suddenly, Zainab notices that Sakina has disappeared. She is alarmed. She looks around, but Hussein's darling daughter is not to be seen. Zainab slowly walks to the battlefield. She comes to where Abbas lay. Abbas, my dear brother, have you seen Sakina? There is silence. She makes her way to where Hussein's headless body lay. There, hugging her father, she finds Sakina, deep in sleep. Attention of Zainab towards Zainal Abidin during the journey. The night of calamity passed away, and the ladies of Imam Hussein's household were made captives the next day. They were made to wait in the hot sun, while the enemy spent the rest of the day burying their own dead. They were made to mount saddle, less camels like common criminals. Imam Zainal Abidin P.Ba was sent towards Kufa, hands and feet clasped together in iron and wearing a barbed iron collar, and made to walk barefoot on the hot desert sand, even though he was sick. The caravan passed through the battlefield where the bodies of the martyrs lay without shroud, mixed in dust and blood. It was here that Imam Zainal Abidin would have died of grief. He turned a pale yellow. Zainab consoled her nephew, "Be patient. What am I witnessing? You are the Imam of the time." She reminded him of the tradition of Holy Prophet P.Ba to Amen, which had explained the divine covenant. At the front of the caravan, the guard's car rides spears with the heads of Imam Hussain P.Ba and his loved ones. The guards beat the prisoners if they complained of anything. They did not even spare the youngest. Some children died along the way, and their bodies were left in the desert. By the time they reached Kufa, they were bruised all over their bodies. When Zainab saw Kufa, remembered the period of her father, the caravan reached the court of Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad on the 12th of Muharram 61 Hijra. Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad, the governor of Kufa, ordered the streets to be decorated, while there was a huge crowd on the streets of Kufa, jeering and making fun of the prisoners. There was commotion in the court of Kufa due to the oration of Zainab. The speeches of Zainab, where she commented on the faithlessness and cowardice of the Kufis, made them cover their faces in their clothes in shame and misery. But when some of the people saw the head of Imam Hussain on the spear, they turned their heads and started to cry. They felt guilty that they allowed this to happen to Imam Hussain, when this same Imam was ready to help them when they needed him. It was noon and the sun was blazing hot. The children were crying of hunger and thirst. As the caravan reached the governor's palace, Zainab faced the crowds and said, "Do you know who your governor has killed? We are the grandchildren of your prophet Muhammad P.Ba. When your governor killed the prophet's loved ones, the skies cried and the earth shook. Where were you then?" There was complete silence in the crowd. Some of the people realized their mistake and started to cry with shame. When Umar son of Saad saw what was happening, he quickly led the prisoners into the palace. When Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad saw Imam Zainal Abidin in the palace, he ordered him to be killed straight away. Zainab ran in front of him and said, "You will have to kill me first. How dare you sit on this throne which does not rightfully belong to you and insult us? Listen, O son of Ziyad, we are the grandchildren of the Prophet. You should be ashamed of yourself. You claim to follow the Prophet's teachings, yet you have done everything to destroy his family." Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad was surprised at how brave this lady was. He thought that after all that they had suffered, they would not have the strength to face him. More and more people started to realize that what Zainab was saying was true. Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad had ordered the prisoners to be taken to the prison next to the palace immediately. He told Shimmer and Cooley, who were the leaders of this caravan, to make preparations to take the prisoners to Syria, Damascus, before they had a chance to speak out in public again. The caravan of Zainab left for Syria on the 13th of Muharram. Along the route, there were several altercations between the forces of Yazid and the supporters of al-Bayt. As the caravan was leaving Kufa, People watched from the rooftops. Zainab and other prisoners continued to tell the people about what had happened in Karbala. Many people started to speak out against Ubayd Allah son of Ziyad. On the journey, the prisoners again suffered in the hands of the guards. When the caravan reached Syria, the prisoners had to wait in the hot sun while Shimmer went to Yazid's palace to announce their arrival. Yazid had declared that day as a day of celebration. Every corner of the city was decorated. Al-Bayt but in the court of Yazid it is recorded in the books of histories that on 21st Rabiul Awwal 61 Hijra, on Wednesday the caravan reached Damascus, the capital and stronghold of Umayyad power. The captive prisoners were finally taken to Yazid's palace. Yazid sitting on the throne with a stick in his hand and was repeatedly striking the parched lips of Imam Hussein's severed head placed in a tray before him, and called on his ancestors who were killed by the Muslim army in the Battle of Badr to witness the revenge which he had extracted from the family of the Prophet. Zainab, the courageous daughter of a courageous father, put him to shame this heretic with her following fiery speech. In the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to God, the Lord of the universe. God's blessings be on his messengers' family altogether. In the long run, evil in the extreme will be the end of those who do evil, for that they rejected the signs of God and held them up to ridicule. Holy Quran 30:10. O Yazid, do you think that by making us prisoners in such a way that we are being taken from one place to another in humiliation, do you think that by this you have humiliated us in the sight of God and have earned respect for yourself? This apparent success of yours is the result of grandeur of your might and lofty status for which you are proud. You feel that you have conquered the whole world and your affairs are organized, and that our domain is now under your control. And are you forgetting that God has said, "Those who purchase unbelief at the price of faith, not the least harm will they do to God, but they will have a grievous punishment." Holy Quran 3:177. Then Zainab reminds Yazid that his grandmother and other relatives came into the fold of Islam only after the fall of Makkah at the hands of the Muslims. Since Makkah was taken without any war or bloodshed, legally the entire inhabitant could have been made the slaves of the Prophet. But the Prophet, out of his mercy, declared to the people of Makkah that I release you from the bonds of slavery, you are free. In other words, Zainab wanted Yazid to remember that his ancestors were the freed slaves of her grandfather. Look at the courage of Zainab. Standing as a prisoner in the court of Yazid, she does not hesitate to remind him of his reality. Is it justice, O son of the freed slaves, that you provide your ladies and slave girls with hijab, whereas the daughters of the messenger of God are held prisoners? You have insulted them by taking away the covers. You have exposed their faces to the enemies from one city to another. Everyone, irrespective of his high or low status, stares at their faces. These ladies do not have their gents or protectors with them. Then Zainab reminds the audience of the origins of Yazid. His grandmother, Hind, the wife of Abu Sufyan, had ordered her slave after the Battle of Uhud to cut open the chest of Hamza, Prophet's uncle, and chewed upon his liver to quench her anger for death of her father and brother who were killed in Badr. But, of course, how can we expect protection from him whose mouth spits out the heart of the pious people, whose flesh has grown from the blood of martyrs? And why should he not hate us who is jealous of us and shamefully say, "I wish my ancestors had seen me today. They would congratulate me and pray that my hand would never be weak." Yazid is saying this while he is hurting with his cane the teeth of Hussain, the leader of the youths of paradise. Why should he not say these things, he who has cursed his feelings and sores by spilling the blood of Muhammad's family, the stars of the family of Abdul Muttalib? You call your ancestors hoping that they will answer you. You will be put together with them, and then you will regret and say, "Had my tongue become dumb, so that I would not have said what I said." O God, give us our right, and avenge those who have oppressed us, and send your anger upon those that spilled our blood and killed our protectors. By God, O Yazid, by killing Hussain you have not torn but your own skin, and you have not cut but your own flesh. You will be brought to the Prophet with the crimes of spilling the blood of his children and humiliating his family. The oppressors will know when the time changes against them. In the meantime, a Syrian pointed towards Sakina and sought her for slavery. Zainab protected her from his advances and shouted furiously, "O Yazid, have you lost all of your sense of shame? You want to make the grandchildren of the Prophet Muhammad P. a slave." Yazid shouted at Zainab, "I am the truthful one. God is pleased with my victory. He has humiliated your family and caused death of your brother Hussain." Zainab was very angry at Yazid. She could not just stand there while this wicked and corrupt man spoke like this. She said, "Do you think that it was God who made you commit these awful crimes? Do you blame God for the sufferings that you have caused us? Do you blame God for the death of the grandson of Prophet? No, Yazid, it was you who caused all these sufferings. Did you think that by killing the grandson of the Prophet you have won the battle? No, Yazid, you haven't. It is my brother Imam Hussain P.B. who by shedding his blood in Karbala has made sure that evil men like you would not be allowed to destroy Islam. The victory is not yours. The victory is of Imam Hussain P.B. The victory is surely of Islam." Yazid was amazed at how this lady, after all that she had gone through, could talk to him like this. He thought that Imam Zainul Abidin would be an easier target for his insults, as he looked sick to be able to answer him back. He turned to Imam Zainul Abidin and said, "Well, who do you think the winner of this war is?" Imam Zainul Abidin replied, "Yazid, victory can only belong to those who are on the right path. Look at you, and then look at my father Imam Hussain P.B. My father, who you ordered to be killed so brutally, was the grandson of the Prophet P.B. Yazid, you are the grandson of Abu Sufyan, who was an enemy of the Prophet P.B. and Islam, just as you are." Yazid instructed a speaker to mount on pulpit and calumniated the forefathers of Imam Zainul Abidin P.B. The speaker did as he was told, not sparing a single unbecoming remark against the household of the Holy Prophet P.B. When the speaker descended from the pulpit, Imam Zainul Abidin raised, and after praising Almighty God and sending salutations on the Holy Prophet, Muhammad P.B. said, "O people, those who are acquainted with me know me, and those who do not know me then recognize me. I am the son of Makkah and Mina. I am the son of Sofa and Marwa. I am the son of the one who was elevated, who ascended so high that he went beyond the heights of Sidratul Muntaha. He drew so near to his Lord that the distance of 2 bows or even less remained in between. I am the son of one behind whose head whom angels of heaven prayed in couples. I am the son of one who was killed unjustly. I am the son of one who was beheaded from the nape. I am the son of one who was not given water till his last breath. I am the son of one who rolled in his own blood in the sands of Karbala. I am the son of one whose turban and robe were looted. I am the son of one on whom angels of heaven have wept. I am the son of one was placed atop of spear and presented as a gift. I am son of one whose womenfolk were made prisoners and dragged from Iraq to Syria. O people, praise be to God, who tested us firmly and gifted us with the knowledge of guidance, justice, and piety, the way he gave the sign of deviation to our enemies. Almighty God bestowed 6 privileges on us, al-Bayt. He bestowed knowledge, forbearance, bravery, generosity, love, and respect for us in the hearts of the believers. Imam kept on saying such sentences that until signs of restlessness appeared in the audience. Yazid, in order to keep circumstances under control, gestured towards the muezzin to give azan. When he delivered testimonies, Imam said, "I too testify to one whom you testify." When he testified the Prophet Hud Ashhud Anna Muhammadar Rasulullah of Holy Prophet P.B. Imam asked from Yazid, "O Yazid, tell me whether Muhammad was your grandfather or mine. If you say that he was your grandfather, then you are a liar, and if you say that he is my grandfather, then why did you slay my father and Captivity, our female kin?" Then he turned towards the public and said, O men, is there anyone amongst you whose father or grandfather was the holy prophet Piba? Thus the audience broke into mourning and crying aloud. Yazid was so angry that he ordered the prisoners to be taken away immediately and put into the prison. As soon as the prison doors were closed, they started saying their prayers to thank God. In the prison it was so dark that you could not tell whether it was day or night. The days were so hot that it was difficult to breathe, and the nights were so cold that Sakina's toes would turn blue. They had nothing to sleep on but the bare floor. Demise of Sakina/Rokhaya P. But one night, Sakina suddenly started to cry in her sleep. When her mother asked her what the matter was, she said that she saw her father in her dreams telling her that he could not bear to see her in this state any more. Everybody started to cry so much that the noise reached Yazid at the palace. He asked the guards what all the noise was about. When they told him what it was, he ordered that Imam Hussein's head be taken to Sakina in order to keep her quiet. The guards brought the head and put it on the ground. When Sakina saw her father's head, she ran to it and hugged it. All the ladies were stricken with grief. Sakina complained to her father about how the evil men snatched her earrings that he had given to her, how they took away their veils and burnt their tents. Suddenly, Sakina stopped complaining and was completely quiet. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Sakina, the loving daughter of Imam Hussain, passed away in the dark, lonely dungeon. Her dress was glued to her body with the dried blood caused by merciless and incessant flogging. Imam Zainal-Abidin buried her in a small grave in one corner of the prison. All the ladies sat by Sakina's mother Rubab and cried. Sakina will finally be able to sleep on her father's chest once again. After the death of Sakina, the people of Syria started to question Yazid about the prisoners. Many felt that they had already spent so long in prison in the worst possible condition. What crime had they committed to deserve such treatment? Yazid realized that if he did not do anything to change the situation, the people would turn against him. He made arrangements for the prisoners to be brought to the palace court to be set free. Many people were invited to see the event. When everybody was seated, an announcement was made that the great-grandson of the Prophet was entering the court. The ladies of his household were seated behind the curtain, which was put up especially for the occasion. When Imam Zainal-Abidin walked in, everyone stood up. They could not believe what they saw. Even though the chains had been removed, he could hardly walk. His neck, hands, and feet were deeply cut and bleeding. His back was bent because of the way he had been chained. But there was dignity in his face, never bowed down to Yazid at any time. Yazid told Imam Zainal-Abidin that they were free to leave and offered them any amount that they required. Zainab said from behind the curtain, "O Yazid, haven't you done enough to us? Do you still want to insult us by this offer? Your actions can only be judged by God. You will have to answer to him and the Prophet Muhammad P. But for all that you have done. All that we want are the heads of our martyrs and our property which your men looted from us. They took away the veil that was given to me by my mother. They took away the blood-stained clothes of my brother. They took away Sakina's earrings which were given to her by her father. No, Yazid, there is nothing that you can give us to replace these things which mean more to us than anything else." Yazid was amazed at her answer. He promised to give back everything that was taken from them in Karbala. One part of the royal palace was emptied. The first majlis for Hussain took place in the palace of Yazid itself. The Syrian women came wearing black dresses. The wailing resounded the walls and doors of the palace due to the renditions of Zainab Piba. Imam Zainal-Abidin and the rest of the ladies and children stayed in Syria for a few more days and then made preparations to travel to Karbala to pay their respects to their martyrs and then go back to Medina. They went back to the prison to say goodbye to Sakina. Sakina's mother Rubab fell on the grave crying, "Oh my dear Sakina, we are finally free to go home. But my child, you are still imprisoned in Syria. My Sakina, I am leaving, but my heart and soul will always be here with you. Please, O people of Syria, look after the grave of my child Sakina. Finally, the grandchildren of the Holy Prophet P.B. left Syria. Imam Zainul Abidin led the plundered caravan towards Karbala. Everyone was very quiet. They were all thinking about their loved ones. When they arrived in Karbala in 40 days, they sat by the graves, crying and remembering that tragic day on the 10th of Muharram, when they lost so many of their loved ones. Finally, after saying goodbye to their martyrs, they started the journey back to Medina. How sad this journey must have been. Even though they were free, their hearts were in Karbala and Syria. When the caravan reached Medina, Zainab P.B. visited the grave of her grandfather, the Prophet Muhammad P.B. She sat by his grave and complained, with tears in her eyes, "Oh, my grandfather, look at what Yazid and his men did to your grandchildren. They killed your most beloved grandson, Imam Hussain. They killed Abbas when he went to get water for Sakina. They killed Ali Akbar, who looked like you. They killed my brother's son Qasim. They killed my sons Orn and Muhammad. They didn't even leave little Ali Asghar. Oh, my dear grandfather, your beloved Sakina is also gone. She died in the dark prison of Syria." Zainab then went to the grave of her mother Fatima P.B. and said, "Oh, my dear mother, look at what they have done to us. Look at these blood-stained clothes of your son. Oh, my mother, they paraded us in the streets of Kufa and Syria without our veils." A voice came from the grave, "My dear child, I saw what they did. I was there when they beheaded my son. I was there when the guards slapped Sakina just for crying for her dead father. I was there when they paraded you on the streets without your veils." Zainab cried, "Oh, my dear mother, I have so much to tell you." One of the tortures of Syria is about the prison in which household of Holy Prophet P.B. were imprisoned for approximately a year. And once after release from the imprisonment, when Imam Zainul Abidin P.B. saw his aunt praying while sitting, he asked with surprise, "Oh, aunt, you are not performing even optional prayers in sitting position, while today you are performing obligation prayers in this posture." Tears came in the eyes of Zainab. She said while in prison, "The food and water were supplied in such a meager quantity that I used to pass on my share of food and water to the children. Due to continuous starvation I have become so weak that I could not pray by standing straight. A man by the name of Noman went to Medina three years after the events of Karbala. He saw the Imam Sajjad standing near the grave of the Prophet, weeping and complaining to the Prophet about the ill-treatment that Imam and the other members of the Prophet's family had received. Imam remained in this position until when he fainted, and was then taken by his followers to his house. Noman went to Imam's house, then asked the Imam what was the most difficult time he had to face in Karbala and during his imprisonment to Kufa and Damascus. The Imam said, "Syria, Syria, Syria," and then explained that in Syria, Sham, the family of the Prophet was treated like animals and presented to the court of Yazid like slaves. In this way, people of Medina were to see him mourning for his father from then till his death some 35 years later, at the age of 57. It is reported that whenever Imam Sajjad see water, he would weep, remembering the thirst of the martyrs of Karbala. When he saw a goat or sheep being slaughtered, he would ask the slaughterer if he had fed the animal and given it water. On being assured that this had indeed been done, the Imam would weep, saying that his father and other martyrs were slaughtered hungry and thirsty of 3 days. He held regular morning session in his house. Those who attended these sessions would then be served with food in the name of his father, Imam Hussain. One day somebody told him, "O son of God's messenger, up to when would you weep like this?" Imam replied, "O servant of God, Prophet Yaqub had 12 sons, but only one of them was taken away from him. He wept so much, and for such long, that his eyes turned white, his head turned grey, and his back was bent, although his son Yusuf was still alive. Whereas I watched my father, my brother, and 17 members of my family being slaughtered all around me. How could my sorrow come to an end?"